All righty, welcome in, welcome in. So I believe I misspoke during the last session because I think this is session number 14. So we are moving right along, right along. And kudos to all of those who've been with us throughout this whole journey. This is session number 14 out of our 16 sessions for Information Exchange 2026 virtual. So welcome everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. This session is our mail tracking focused session. And we have one of the most colorful people in my life, Michael Ray, with us, who's our technical track and trace person. He works on the product all the time. So please, if you have technical related questions, technical oriented questions, feature related requests, enhancements you would love to see, etc., he is ready for them. So I'm going to pass it over to Kate and Mike in a moment to introduce themselves. Before I do, I just want to remind everybody that your cameras are off, your mics are muted, and please use chat and Q&A throughout the session if you have questions about mail tracking. We did a little homework, and about 15 out of the total registrations for virtual are active TNT users, but only a few of them were actual track and trace users that I recognized their names from past sessions. So that means there's some potential customers over here of ours that do not use mail tracking yet. So I hope that this session is informative for you. And a fun fact, you've seen me now 14 times. My name's Brandon Kellaway. I used to work for BCC Software over a decade ago, and I returned April of last year. I used to work with Mike Ray about 10 years ago, and we've been friends over the years, and so I'm very grateful to have him on. Mike, they've seen Kate a couple times. I'm gonna pass
All
it to you
right.
to introduce yourself first.
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Brandon. Like Brandon said, I am Mike Ray. I am the SaaS engineering team lead. That means I am the subject matter expert for track and trace and several other software as a service kind of products. If any of you use Lens or have heard of that, that is my baby as well. Been at the company 12 years now, I think, and just happy to be here, present a little, and hopefully answer some questions for people.
Cool.
Go
And
ahead,
I'm
Kate.
Kate. I might have seen some of you guys on some earlier sessions this week. I'm the Omnichannel Product Development Manager here. I work pretty closely with Mike on track and trace and its roadmap and what features and things that we're going to implement into the product. So I'm excited to be presenting with them today.
All righty. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Kate. And we'll hear more from you in a moment. Before we dive in, I have a quick poll for everybody just to gauge where tracking sits within your workflow today. So if everybody could take a moment and answer our poll, that would be fantastic. I will also throw it into chat for everybody so that you have that available for those of us who are not able to see the poll or engage with the poll. And the poll is really broken into 4 specific responses. Number 1, you don't use tracking today. The mail goes out and you find out when somebody calls you or a customer lets you know that everything worked out well. Option 2 is you check when requested. So if a customer is asking you to look up a job and get that data. Number 3, the third option is that you track every job and report on it. And number 4 is that mail tracking is part of your larger strategy. So if you're doing some omni-channel touch points or some digital touch points, mail tracking is a component of that, and that's where you have mail tracking factored into your workflow. So I'm going to give everybody a moment or two to respond to this, and let's see where people sit. So right now, about half of the people who've responded noted that they check when someone asks. You can look up the job, but it's usually reactive. Very common. I'm sorry, Benjamin. Yeah, polls never work for some people. So Benjamin answered that he currently does not track. The mail goes out. And we have a couple of respondents that talked about tracking every job and reporting on it. So wonderful. And Terry responded other. Terry, can you elaborate on other in the chat for us? I'd love to hear what you put as an other response. I'm going to leave this open for another 30 seconds. Alrighty. So Kate, Mike Ray, take us into our subject matter for today.
Awesome. All right. So if you can't tell, we're going to be talking about tracking today and its importance when it comes to your direct mail campaigns. So throughout the day or throughout this presentation, we're going to talk a little bit about how mail without data is really just an expense. It's really important that you're getting that data back on your mail campaigns and not just sending your mail into a void and hoping it delivers. You have the ability to track and understand where all of your mail pieces are, so why not take advantage of it? And then we'll talk a little bit about track and trace and how that provides that visibility into where your campaigns are throughout the mail stream. And then we'll talk a little bit about what do you do with that data after, you get that out for delivery scan, or you get an ACS notice that, somebody's moved or something. So being able to act on that data to refine your list, refine your campaigns, and just be stronger when it comes to how you're going to market. And lastly, we're hoping, you leave with some new knowledge of how you want to attack your tracking when it comes to direct mail. And maybe you will leave and say, great, I'm on the right track. I'm doing things as, that everybody thinks that I should be. Or maybe you'll leave thinking, hey, I kind of want to tweak a few things within my direct mail campaigns based on what I learned today. So like Brandon said, very hoping this is a very interactive presentation. So if you have thoughts or anything like that around tracking or what you're doing right now, please throw them in the chat. We'd love to hear from you guys. All right, so stop mailing into a black box. Direct mail has kind of in the past, before the IMB came out, was kind of just sending it out, hoping it gets to the recipient's mailbox, right? But now we have this magical thing called the IMB, where you can actually track and understand where all of your mail pieces are within the mail stream and refine your campaigns based off of that information. So you don't have to just send your mail out, hope it gets delivered. You can actually track how mail pieces at different parts of the country move speed-wise and really refine your campaigns based off of that. So track and trace provides that ability. And when you get that data back, that really kind of can become the new postage, right? To be able to have data to speak to your customers about how their campaigns are performing, where they can see lift, where they can see, things aren't going so well in this part of the region for USPS. We should mail earlier because things take longer. If you really want to hit a specific in-home date, you can use that data to refine campaigns and really speak to your customers as subject matter experts when it comes to how mail moves through USPS.
All right, so IMB, so the Intelligent Mail Barcode is what that stands for. And I apologize if I get in the weeds. I am an engineer, not generally a talky person. But basically, any kind of piece of mail has a barcode on it nowadays for this level of mailing. There's 20 digits that are super important for what type of mail it is, and then the end of it is the 9-digit zip code you're delivering to. Well, 11-digit really for the exact house. So we get all of those in a mailing. So you upload a file to us with, anywhere from just one individual piece or upwards of millions of pieces. And you've created a campaign or some other system and a mail.dat to the USPS. And they give us scans through Inform Visibility. That is where, for those of you who already use tracking through us, a competitor, or yourselves, you know that you get a feed with a MID delegated in it. That MID dumps in all of those scans. So as that piece of mail with a barcode flows, it goes from the post office you dropped it out at to a large sort center over to wherever it's going, then the smaller post offices, and then its delivery scan. We get all of those scans. We report on all those scans, and we can give you basically where your piece of mail is at any point in the system, as long as the USPS is doing their job, which we all know, hit or miss there. So as that mail flows through, we get it. We can get those files through most of our products, Mail Manager, Bulk Mailer, Architect. They can all upload directly into our track and trace system. For those of you who are doing your own homebrew using a competitor or just have a unique workflow, we also take a direct upload of that file in a specified format. We get those things. You log into the track and trace system. You can see your mailing. You can see when it gets scans. And basically track that mailing all the way through the system. And that works for both for destination and inbound. So if you're starting to look into ballot tracking or anything else like that, track and trace fully supports ballot mail and other kinds of inbound mail where it is people mailing it back to you. And that can be combined in one mailing where you send the piece of mail out to the end user and they mail it back, or it can be two distinct mailings, or just whichever half you need. And all of that can just happen for you. We have reports set up that will run several times a day that will give you anything from a high level, this SCF got this many scans and deliveries, all the way down to the nitty gritty of every individual scan on a barcode. And those can be automated to SFTP, downloaded, emailed, however you need to get them. And we are looking at future enhancements for APIs to get you even more options going forward. Then how do we advance slides? Thank you. All right, so this is kind of what we were talking about with reporting. There is real-time dashboards. Any mailing you have uploaded to the website or to the track and trace system, any mailing will show up for you. There is granularity in there. If you have a lot of end users or end customers, you can give them logins as well and control what they can or cannot see. So you aren't accidentally showing different end users each other's mailing. That works for reporting as well. But there's a main mailing dashboard page that gives you a very high level. You had this mailing on this mailing date, this many pieces got scans, this many got delivered. And then down to our reports where you can look, like I said, you can look at delivery by day, delivery by SCF, delivery by 5-digit, or look at individual mail pieces to see what that barcode is doing. And we allow all those to be exported as well, either ad hoc through the website as you need them, or in scheduled reports that run multiple times a day. As we get scans from the USPS several times a day, we go and we scan match those against our systems to match them to your barcodes. We get over 40 million scans a day. And we've had about 5 billion mail pieces this year alone. So we get a lot of mail coming through, and you can just see where it's going. You can make sure you know it's getting where it needs to get to, and you can be in front of any issues. So if, for example, you mailed a mailing on Monday and there's no scans on it today, that's very likely an issue to start looking into, versus if you mailed something yesterday and had scans already, that mailing is going well for the USPS. And then that last one, service bureaus, that was part of that reseller functionality we talked about, where you can set up a service bureau. You can have end users with their own companies in there with their where they will not see each other's data. And you can control what they see, when they see it, and even what reports they get. So if you don't want to offer every report, you can turn those off for end users and take things from there. And as of a few years ago, we also allowed custom MIDs in Mail Manager. So back in the day, if you are a Mail Manager user and using track and trace, you could only use our MIDs. You can now go through the full workflow, Mail Manager through TNT with your own MIDs, just like you can with Bulk Mailer and Architect. And we are doing ACS and informed delivery campaigns as well now for even more visibility and even more up-to-date information on your scans.
Before we get into some additional slides, Mike, you mentioned that there are some enhancements, obviously, in the roadmap for track and trace. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of those things that might be coming to people's experiences?
Yeah, so we are starting to take a deep dive at our reports in general. For those of you who use track and trace, you know our reports have a lot of information. You also know that they are from the 80s. They're not that old, but they have what you need, but there might be newer, better ways to get it. So this is where we are looking for any feedback, any kind of enhancements, different reports you may or may not want. We are looking at getting APIs into the system so that if you are getting all the scan information, instead of having to get it in a CSV and then upload it yourself, you can just hit an API and pull that information into your own systems. Other enhancements that just happened, ACS, we now have ACS reporting and matching. So if if a barcode has had a address change on it or a secure destruction, you now get that report instead of just not delivered. Informed delivery, for those of you who use informed delivery, you know that you get emails of what your mail is every day, but there is also an option to do informed delivery campaigns through the USPS where you can get information on who opened those emails, who got sent an email, who opened an email, and who clicked on what in it. That is reporting we now offer. You need to delegate those informed delivery MIDs to us. So we'd love to see that gain more traction. The more information you have, the more useful our tools are for you, and the more money we get, which is a win-win-win. and just very much anything else. We just had a major refresh of our scheduling system. It is nicer to use. It is easier. It looks nicer. And we are just going through churning everything we can, trying to make it even more real time, and better reports, and APIs are the big ones.
Cool. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I know if there are some people who are with us who were on the BCC Impact session on Tuesday, feels like a year ago now, Kate. On Tuesday, we talked briefly about the interaction between BCC Impact as a product and track and trace, and how those credits are also going to be available to you as part of the baked into this subscription for BCC Impact credits as well. Kate, do you want to take us through the next slides?
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about how you kind of react to the data that you're receiving. So the next few slides are just a couple of different examples that we've seen to really hone in on your campaigns, make sure they're effective, and react appropriately to what you're mailing. So the first one is taking that omni-channel approach, right? So, you know, if you are getting an out for delivery scan, that's a great time potentially to follow up via email or text with your customer, or get an ad on their social media, so they become more familiar with your brand. And, you know, when they get that mail piece in the mailbox, it's something that's recognizable to them and not just a cold outreach. That really is showing that when you marry when you marry digital and physical, there really is a significant lift between a campaign that has those two together versus one that's just a physical campaign or a digital campaign. So research shows that, you know, your lift could go up 20% or greater when you're marrying digital and physical. So it really can help you hone in on your campaigns and make a much stronger campaign when you put those two together, rather than having them live in silos on their own. So rather than having the mailbox kind of be the end of your campaign, it can really trigger the next step in your campaign to see conversions from your customers. Another one that we've seen is making sure you're kind of staffing your potentially call centers, or, you know, whoever might need to be sitting at a desk if a mail piece goes out and you're expecting a high call rate. So I've had a customer in the previous at a previous role where they had a call center, but they weren't really tracking their mail, and so they weren't staffing correctly for their business. They just kind of kept, let's say, 10 people on at all times. And then when mail would go out and then it would land in home, they would be inundated with calls and they would be extremely understaffed. But then when mail pieces weren't arriving at homes, they would be overstaffed. So once they kind of started tracking their mail and understanding when those mail pieces were going to hit in homes, they would know, oh, we don't need 10 people, we need 16 people. And then on the other days where mail pieces aren't hitting in homes, we actually probably only need about 5. And so understanding where your mail is in the mail stream and how your customers are going to react to that can really help your operations at your company to make sure you know where that mail is and how people are going to react to it, so you can react appropriately. And lastly, knowing when it hits the mailbox. Having that understanding really does make you the subject matter expert for your customers. To be able to speak about how mail is moving in California versus how it's moving in New York is really going to make you that subject matter expert. USPS is a very, very big system throughout the United States, so it's not all going to be flowing at the same time, at the same speed throughout the country. So it's really important that you kind of have an understanding of, okay, if we want to do a Labor Day sale and you're mailing to 50 different states, let's understand how mail is moving right now throughout those states, so we can make sure that everything lands at the right time. So we might need to mail a little bit earlier to the folks in Minnesota and a little bit later to the folks in Utah, for example. So it really gives you the ability to speak as a subject matter expert for your customers on USPS workflows.
All right, catching problems while you can still act. So what can go wrong with a mailing? A lot of different things, right? It could be anywhere as simple as the USPS misplaces a pallet or a tray and it goes out in the wrong truck. Or it could be that, you know, the wrong STID is on a mailing, or you've uploaded the wrong barcodes. So with track and trace, the job shipment report gives you a first scan date. So if your mailing went out, the first time that hits a sorting system in the USPS, that will start showing a date on it. So it's not delivered yet, but you know it has a date. That's a great first check to make sure things are happening. Then as you go, we also have other reports that give you different kinds of exceptions. We have three main exceptions we report on within track and trace. Some of them are internal to us. Some of them are kind of a catch-all for USPS term. We have looping, misrouting, and PARS. PARS is literally it hit ACS or something similar in the system, and it is now going to a different delivery address. So we now update those mail pieces so that we keep track of them. We report on them, but we do flag them so that when you wonder why this barcode isn't where you thought it would be, that's a good chance it could be that, and we look for that PARS exception. Looping, when you send a mail piece that's, say, from New York City to LA, you should see scans in your local post office around New York City, and the big RPDC around New York City, the big RPDC around LA, and then your local post office and delivery in LA. So if it ends up going, for some reason, from New York to LA, back to New York, back to LA, that's looping. So for some reason, the USPS has had a shipment screw up and is doing that. Those don't happen a lot, but we report on them. And then misrouted, they're kind of similar to that. But if you're going from New York City to LA, it shouldn't hit Chicago. It shouldn't hit, Denver. It should be going straight through. So if we see an RPDC scan that is not on the right levels, we will report on that this barcode went to the wrong place. Other things, you might just not be getting scans. Last year, we had an issue where a customer was calling, why aren't we getting any scan information? We are able to look into our systems and we realized that there was a post office in St. Louis that just wasn't doing their job. They weren't doing first time scans and they were about 2 weeks behind for some reason. And we're able to identify that because of the sheer volume of mail that we get. We could look at, without providing any customer information to anyone else, we could go look at other customers who are using that same mailing system in St. Louis and say, something's going on here. And we could reach out to our contacts at the Postal Service and say, can you explain why this location is having no initial scans? All of this is great because it lets you be in front of it, right? When your customers call to say, where's my scan data? Or why is my mail not getting delivered? You can have an answer ready for them or a quick way to look it up. And so instead of being reactive, you can be just active on it. There's also the potential that if you are seeing issues, you can now update future mailings to have different mailing dates, different drop points, or just track down other ways to fix it. But that's an ACS. Now that we have ACS as well, we do ACS reporting that shows you all of customers' moves. If those mail pieces were delivered because of ACS, if they were secure destruction, or if they were returned to sender, because if there is a move in the USPS system, the type of mail you have sent and the type and how they have flagged their mail affects if that mail is forwarded, returned to sender, or destroyed. And that's based on STID and other options you use when creating a mail piece.
Mike, I want to take a moment because there's been a couple of chat related things. One, Terry Headley put in here, I'd like to see file upload error notifications, especially when setting up a new client, typos in mail groups, for example. So it's a little feature thing that she's requesting. And then Franklin noted, is scan information by mail piece available since pieces not being scanned by have address elements, defects, or imaging issues and may become UAA or MIA?
Sure. So to the first one, file upload errors. If based on how you are, this is going to sound like a pretty squirrely answer, so I apologize for that. But when you upload via the website, we don't throw an error there except for some very basic checking. But when we actually ingest the file in the system, which normally happens within 5 to 20 minutes after that, if there is an error, you should be getting an email alert. If you are not, reach out to our support and we can take a look to see if why you might not be getting those alerts. Something, however, like a typo in a mail group would just create a new mail group, though, right? We don't force you to have a mail group in the system already when you upload. Right? That would be a pain point if you are generating a lot of mail groups to go to the website, create a mail group, then do it. So a typo in a mail group, we wouldn't know. We would just create a new mail group for you. So if there's probably potential for an enhancement around there somewhere to maybe set on a service bureau a flag saying if it doesn't exist, error versus just creating it. But we should be sending you error emails on failures. So yes, we can look into that. Like I said, please reach out with more details for us. Scan information by Mailpiece available. Yes, we have our regular reports that can be PDF, etc. We also have what we call data exports. They are a different option in the report section. So if you're on the website and you go to reports, there is 3 or 4 sub tabs. There is Mailpiece level in there. The Mailpiece level will give you the first and most recent scan. There is also a Mailpiece scan level that will give you every single scan for every Mailpiece. But that will do it for the whole mail group or mailing. That can be a lot of information. We also have a track Mailpiece section on the website. The track Mailpiece, you put a barcode in there. We find it and we return all the scans for that specific barcode. That would be that level. Then also, there's a lot of ways to get to it. So apologies that I'm rambling on. You can also go through the reports from SCF or state to 5-digit to 3-digit to 5-digit, and then click on an individual Mailpiece there and get the barcodes there. Hopefully one of those is what you need. For UAA, that would be ACS kind of stuff, I believe. That's a variant of secure destruction. If you're using ACS, it could be there. But at some point, right, if the Mailpiece is just gone, you would just find the final scan, and we can always look into that. Mail commingling, how do users use that for TNT? If you are printing for multiple end customers, you can upload one mailing and you can see all that. If you are trying to give your end users visibility as well, you can upload individual mailings by their mid is probably how you'd separate it. You can also use one mailing and give different mail groups. Mail groups are a way to control visibility. So if I was mailing for Kate and Brandon, and all 3 of us could log into my TNT site, I could use a Kate mail group and a Brandon mail group and set their visibilities only to that mail group. So we would all see the same mailing, but I would see all 10,000 pieces with 2 mail groups in it, and Kate would only see her 5,000 and Brandon would only see his 5,000. And them looking at reports would only show their pieces versus my entire one.
Mike, I'm assuming you're looking at the chat. We got a couple other things in here.
Yes. Reports from single piece to just by day scans. I think that might be trying. Is that a specific question, or is that just trying to give help to the other people in the
I
chat?
believe Claudia is trying to help others.
And then I'm a mail owner. I wish to track my specific catalog. When you say your specific catalog, do you mean an individual mail piece, or what is a catalog in this context? And that's to Frank. Sorry, just to clarify.
We'll keep flowing while Frank.
Okay,
Individual
so Frank,
piece.
individual piece. So you would have a barcode on that. So in track mail piece, you could enter that barcode and find that individual piece. You could also do a mail piece or mail scan export for that mailing and get all of the pieces in that mailing, and then find the barcodes you want in there. But the track mail piece would be the answer. Put the barcode for that specific mail piece in it to see what is happening with that one mail piece within a mailing.
The co-mailer pre-sorts, so I do not control the barcoding.
You should still hopefully know the barcode. If you don't know the barcode, but you can log into track and trace, we have user-defined fields. We also have things like first, last, and delivery address you can sort on. So if you have some other kind of unique identifier that you want, we have the option of up to 4 user-defined fields. So for example, yep, fair enough. We can talk offline. But once again, if you reach out to our support, they should understand some of these basics too. I'm assuming a lot of you know Mary Crass or George. They know a lot of these high-level answers, and then they bother me for details. So at some point, my words will filter through too.
Thank you, Mike.
Yep.
All right, keep us rolling.
Yeah, proof that the mailing happened. First scans, like I mentioned, we track every scan. So the shipments report, which should be the first report on the first tab, the destination reporting, at the mailing level, that has a first scan date. That means at least something in that mailing got a scan. That should be a good indicator that it's starting to happen. That is great for your SLAs to show that the mailing did go out. Unfortunately, the USPS doesn't really do an initial scan anymore. It used to be you brought your mail to their facility and, in a big pallet or whatever, they would scan it, and that would be, we've dropped it off at the USPS. They don't start scanning until they actually start putting it through the system now. That's where that St. Louis story comes up. That first scan was showing up very late, and we were able to track that down for them and show that it was getting delivered, but not on the mailer. So that is very nice, and that first scan can be very useful. And I think that is pretty much the main detail on this slide, is that's reported on.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about attribution. As marketers know, attribution is not the easiest thing to track, especially when you have multiple different channels and multiple different teams fighting over attribution. My fiance is in marketing, and we talk about attribution a lot of the time on no digital gets to claim this, or my social ad gets to claim this, no direct mail gets to claim this. So making sure you're giving direct mail a chance to get some sort of attribution is going to be essential. And that's really going to be what your customers are going to start to see and be able to say, oh, direct mail is working, let's continue to do this. But you can't do that unless you're tracking it and you have an understanding of how that mail is moving and how people are responding to that mail. So really understanding when people are receiving their mail and if they're taking some sort of action based off of that. And you can see, oh, somebody came to our website the same day that their mail piece delivered and we didn't have any other ads go out to them. That's a good signal that, hey, that mail piece is working, we should give it some attribution. Along with that, building that bridge of digital and physical, you can add pearls or QR codes, which are another way that are distinct and one-to-one on these mail pieces that allow you to kind of understand, oh, they scanned directly from this mail piece and then went to our website. So we're not giving that attribution to the search engine that, they might have just Googled and found our website. Clearly they came from a pearl or a QR code of sort. And so outside of tracking, there are other ways to get attribution on your direct mail pieces. And that kind of allows you to make mail accountable. You can't just send things into the black void and hope that, things land and they're working correctly. You've got to have the data to prove it's actually working to keep those marketing budgets coming back for more direct mail. So it's really important that you are understanding how your mail is moving and how people are reacting to it based off of those movements, so you can show the attribution that it has.
Yeah, and a lot of what Kate is emphasizing here ties back to basically half of the virtual sessions, topics that you've heard in half of the virtual sessions here. The idea that everything is kind of an interconnected, a piece of a very interconnected ecosystem of data. And that's really what we're trying to do here. That's really what the story we're trying to help you tell to your customers.
Yeah. So data is the new postage. You've really got to show the value of the data that you have so people can react based off of that data and refine their campaigns and remove names from their list that are just wasted postage because they're not actually getting delivered, understand how mail is moving throughout the United States, understand who actually responds to your mail based off of these tracking events. And so it really is a mind shift set of making sure you're no longer just spraying and praying and hoping everything goes well. You have the ability to check in on your mail campaigns. And so you definitely want to make sure you're taking advantage of that and understanding how your mail is moving and be able to speak to that with your customers.
Excellent. Oh, I know we were answering quite a few questions throughout the session today. While we wrap up, I'll pass it to Kate and Mike to say a few final comments regarding the subject for today. But while we're doing that, if there's any other questions or topics that you're interested in getting some insider knowledge on regarding track and trace or mail tracking in general, this is the group. So Mike, do you have any closing comments for everybody?
I just want to say first, thanks for putting up with me for this. I do not normally get to go in front of customers, so this was a real treat for me. They normally keep me segmented for some reason. We think track and trace is very powerful and it's very good at what it does currently. But we do know that it is time for a fresh coat of paint and some updates on it. So please let us know what those enhancements are, what that wish list is. We are in a cycle right now of updates and and we want to make sure that if we have time, we can put in the tools that you need to do the job, right? You guys using our tool better is better for everyone. So let us know what you need.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I mean, I would just echo all of Mike's thoughts. And additionally, I know we talked a lot about this from a marketing perspective as well, of understanding how your marketing campaigns are going, but it's really important for first class too, for compliance reasons, legal reasons, making sure you know where your mail is moving for those sensitive mail pieces. So it's kind of, table stakes to play in the game that you're tracking your mail when you're sending your mail.
So Benjamin Skirvin noted he's never used TNT, but they're a BCC Architect customer. So they're interested in getting started and potentially interfacing it with BCC Architect.
Yeah,
Mike?
so if you're using BCC Architect, there is a chance you are using EasyTrack, or at least have heard the term EasyTrack. EasyTrack Complete will upload your files into the track and trace system. So if you are already using EasyTrack for the snapshot view, which is a very just high level kind of mailing summary, you would just upgrade to EasyTrack Complete, at which point it would load directly into the track and trace system. You would get a login for that. If you are not using EasyTrack, then that is the answer. Either way is to start looking at using EasyTrack, which should be an option in Architect. It would basically allow you to take your pre-sorts, your mail.dats, and create a mailing file from them that will upload through our backend systems into the track and trace system.
Lisa Nolan noted last scan tracking and keep the information longer for end users. I believe that is a feature request. We have to have proof of delivery for cancel notices, and we have to be able to pull that info for up to 7 years.
Oh, 7. Yeah, okay. I was about to say we keep data for a year. 7 years is quite a bit longer. That is a significant storage space for us. But we can definitely at least talk about the options there. But yeah, that is actually a good point to bring up. Right now, most things in the BCC infrastructure age out at 7 days. Track and trace, however, we keep scan data for a year. That is one of our longer tracking things. 7 years is significantly more. Yeah.
Is there it's probably a stupid question. Is there a system to download and archive that information?
So if you use if you either do ad hoc or more probably better here would be a scheduled report. You could get a scheduled report of the mail pieces for every mailing. That would have your last scan and if it was delivered or not on it for every mail piece, but they would have to keep track of that on their end, right. At that point.
Yeah.
And then Jeff said, I had to step away for a bit, so my apologies if it's already been mentioned. Your software provides us with our clients information regarding deliverability, etc. Is there also a feedback loop to the USPS from your tracking systems to give the info on a problem area within their system?
It is a manual feedback loop. We are regularly emailing with the Informed Visibility Help Desk or other parts of the USPS as needed, but we have nothing automated that says, hey, we just got 20,000 delivery exceptions. What are you doing over there?
So Jeff, the short answer to that is the entire BCC team has a very unique role and unique relationship with the United States Postal Service. Kate can probably elaborate on that quite a bit because she and our product team and our engineering teams, Chris Lean, who has been in several of these sessions, I think he's also still with us. We're all very deeply tied into, I'm not, but everyone else around me is very deeply tied into the United States Postal Service. And I know that there's a constant ebb and flow to us reporting back to USPS about problems in their systems, technology enhancements, etc. So there's industry associations, obviously like MTech and DTech, I know are big opportunities for we're practicing members of them. We're present in a lot of those hearings. And I know we're constantly advocating for repairs and enhancements to those systems in order to solve some of those problem areas. Oh, there he is, Chris Lean. He is still here and he's actively involved with USPS industry associations, National Postal Forum, etc. So, in fact, I believe he and Adam, our product director, were there last week for the MTech meetings. So, I believe there are no other questions in here. But Benjamin, we can follow back up with you regarding your architect subscription and EasyTrack subject and answer some of those questions for you. I just want to give, while we're wrapping up, I want to give a special shout out to our gold sponsors. I know I've mentioned them several times. They presented yesterday at 4 p.m. on our open forum panel. I hope you learned some things. That panel was very informative, covered a wide array of subject matter. They'll also be with us at the live conference next year. So if you happen to see them, or I mean next week, if you happen to see them, or if you are attending next week, please make sure to say hi and talk to them. Direct Logistics presented on Wednesday and Solomar presented on Tuesday. Both very good presentations. If you didn't make them, we are recording all of these sessions and we will supply the recordings and the transcripts to all the attendees and all the registrations, the people who registered for the virtual sessions. Kate, Mike, do you have anything else you'd like to say before you take us away?
I think I'm all
No?
set. Thanks
Yep.
for
Thank you.
joining us today.
Thank you so much, everyone.
I hope you all enjoyed Mike Ray's banana shirt. He dressed up just specifically for you. I really appreciate your time, Mike. I appreciate your time, Kate. I know we had you for 3 sessions, Kate, this week. So it's definitely been very valuable, and I know everyone's very appreciative. Thank you for all of our attendees, and we'll see you on the next one.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone.